Who's ready to fire up their core? You're going to need a mat and one light weight for today. I end up grabbing a 10 here, and you're going to set your timers to 30 seconds. We'll have 30 seconds each exercise. The first exercise is an overhead side bend. So you're going to have your feet underneath your hips with a slight bend in your knees, the dumbbell directly over your head so your biceps are in line with like your temples or your ears, and you're going to bend over to one side. Whatever range of motion works for your body. You're going to feel the load here as you come up to standing. Directly into 30 seconds of side bends. This time the dumbbell is not overhead, it's going to be by your side. In this position, you might be able to get a little bit more range of motion now that there's a little less load with that dumbbell not being so far away from our center line. Next, you'll repeat the same two exercises on the other side, 30 seconds each one. Be sure in this overhead side bend that your shoulders stay stacked. So as you're bending over, I don't want that top shoulder to rotate in or back. Try to keep them even and square to the front wall. On this side bend, whatever range of motion works best for you. Don't try to overstretch it. And then make sure that as you're pulling back up to center, you stop at center. So don't over-exaggerate and bring that shoulder too far to the other side. We just want to bring that center line back to normal. All right, on our backs, 30 seconds of each exercise here. We start with the seatbelt sit-up. So the dumbbell starts on one shoulder, and as you sit up, you're twisting towards the opposite hip, just like you're buckling a seatbelt. After 30 seconds, you're going to transition into a single side V-up. So for this, I'm keeping the dumbbell right on top of my shoulder and sitting up while I lift the opposite leg. Feel the work in your core as you're working the lower half on one side and the upper half on the other side. Once you finish 30 seconds of each of those, you're going to repeat both of them on the other side, starting with those seatbelt sit-ups and then again the single side V-up. Be sure in both of these movements that you're both rolling up and down. So when you roll up, the lower back should be the last thing to lift off the mat. And when you're coming back down, it's the first thing back down. You want to control that range of motion both up and down instead of using any momentum or just completely releasing on the way down. Heading into our last pair of exercises, we're going to start with a side plank with hip dip. Start by just establishing the position of that side plank with the elbow underneath the shoulder and then the bottom knee down. I want your chest square to the front so your hips and shoulders are stacked. You're dipping the hip to the bottom and back up. After that, you're going to place that top leg down on the floor and rotate that dumbbell close to the body, underneath the armpit, and back up. Notice how close this dumbbell is to my body. It rolls down and then rolls back up. Once you finish 30 seconds of each side here, we're going to do 30 seconds of each on the other side. Now this time, I'm going to show an opportunity to level it up if you wish. So instead of having that bottom knee down, you can do these from stacked feet. So on that hip dip, your feet are stacked, you're lowering that hip towards the floor and then lifting it back up, still having the elbow underneath the shoulder. In that same position, you're going to bring that dumbbell down and rotate into that side plank with rotation. On the rotation, notice my hips stay square to the front for the most part, and I'm doing the rotation primarily from the upper body. Once you finish one round, feel free to rest 30 to 60 seconds and then repeat the workout 1 to 2 more times. Again, 30 seconds each exercise with minimal, if any, rest between each.